scholarships is not only in Australia, but in different parts of the world. Okay, and then we are delivering these programs through a unique delivery model, which is making use of live webinars such as this one, and then state-of-the-art hands-on workshops, remote laboratories, and of course simulation softwares. And also to mention, we have dedicated learning support officers, and of course our industry experience lecturers. Okay, so yep, then let's proceed with our presenter. So as mentioned, this will be presented by Professor Kalam, Akhtar Kalam. So without further, I will allow Professor Kalam to introduce himself further for those who just attended our webinar. So Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marvin, and welcome to all of you to come to this presentation. First of all, this presentation is the most important whilst you are doing your doctoral thesis, and that is methodology. So the whole program that I'm going to do today is to design a doctoral level research project, and that'll be focusing on the methodology and structure. So the agenda is as shown by Marvin. Marvin, can I take control of it?
Yes, please. I was about to say.
I have taken control of it, so I can.
Okay.
Just a minute. No, I can't take. Just a minute. I can't. Can you take control, because I can't see this the movement thing.
Yep.
It was there before. Yeah. I can now. I can. If I take control, I can navigate it. I could not navigate it earlier. Can you make it brighter?
Sorry, what was that, Professor?
I said that the slide has gone dark. It was light. It has become very light blue, fade blue. It was dark blue before.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
Just a minute. Let me try again. Again back to blue.
Yep. No, you're taking control of the slides now, right?
No, 1 minute.
You're taking control of the slide.
Yeah, but I know, but it's very dark. You understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah, how about that?
No one can see that slide. Can you please put in full mode? There is all these small ones at the bottom. It was very nice before.
Let me see.
Either you stop sharing and start sharing again, it'll be all right, I think.
Yep, let me see. Yep, let me just take control, Professor.
Yep.
And then
someone else is not in control. Yes, that's fine.
Maybe we can. Maybe we can ask. Hi, Riley.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but yep. It's all right. It's all right. No worries.
Okay. Can you take control of the slides, Professor?
So yes, I'll take it over now. As I was telling you that this is a very important portion, and as I said, I'll be focusing basically in structure. But before doing all that, first question that is there: what is research? And fundamentally, when I talk about research, it is basically you've got a problem which requires intelligent as well as practical answers. So something intellectual and practical. And you want to utilize discover the answer to your intellectual and practical problem. So someone says that research is also a systematically effort. Others say it's a systematic process of collecting and analyzing information, that is data, so that you can increase your understanding of the phenomena about which we are concerned. Okay, so that is what the research. Can you go to the next slide? I just go back to the next slide. Let me see what I do. Yeah, I can control it. Yeah. Now the question is, what is research design? When I talk about research design, it's an overall strategy, and this strategy you choose so that integrate the and you try to make your study more coherent and logical. And why do you want to do that? Very simple. You want to address the problem effectively. That's all. You want to make sure that you address the problem. So that is your research design. So you design in such a way that it becomes very easy. And there are methods to do that. This is one of my favorite charts that I have shown before also, and I'm showing that that tells you about the various things that goes in the research. What are the primary parts? This is prior to research. This is post research, and in between you do the following things. Now, the types of research design. Now, there are various types of research design. Now, the research design can be exploratory, it could be descriptive, it could be casual or explanatory, or it could be experimental. So, this research design helps you to choose what fits your research goal. And therefore, it could be any one of them. As I told you, it could be descriptive, it could be experimental, it could be comparative. Now, when I want to look at that, first let me try and explain to you what is this exploratory or formative research. You're unfamiliar with, and you have no knowledge, and you want to generate new ideas. You want to increase your familiarity with the problem. You want to know of the problem. And you want to gather information so that you can clarify the concept. And lastly, you want to determine whether this is feasible to do or just waste of time. The formative, when you are building the formative stage, when you are building that scaffolding so that you can start doing your research. Therefore, what is descriptive one? The descriptive one is basically fact-finding. And this is the simplest type of research. Fundamentally, you gather this descriptive information and provide information so that you can formulate your study. And you get the data interviews or mail questions or whatever type of method you want to use. And why do you want to do this? You want to do this because you want to focus. You want to very, very focus. You have 3 years, 2 years, something like that to finish your work. Okay? And you can highlight important methodological aspect of data collection and interpretation. That you obtain helps you to predict area of social life outside the boundaries of the research. So it's not confined to the research itself, it goes beyond that. It provides facts so that you can plan any action that you want to take. The casual one, the explanatory one, this is basically fact. And this is the simplest type, as I told you right in the beginning. It's designed so that you can gather this information and provide information so that you can formulate your work. Use any surveys, all that type of thing. Here you focus your work, you highlight your methodology, and the results life outside the boundary of research. The descriptive one provides the facts and it's used for planning purposes. The experimental one. And this is what we normally use in science and engineering. And You could look at even in sociology, psychology, physics, engineering, chemistry, biology, medicine, anywhere where you could do experimental work. This is very, very systematic and scientific approach to research. Here, you as a researcher can manipulate controls and measures and change any other variable. Here, you have got full control of it. So you do the experiment, right? And you can predict the phenomena. You can make maintain the control that enables you as researcher to test your hypotheses. Now, the research paradigm. The research paradigm is basically the frame of how you see the world and influence your choice of method. And here I've shown you four different ones in the slide. Construction, but there are other things, people talk about pure and applied research, they talk about exploratory or formative research, they talk about descriptive research, they talk about diagnostics, they talk about action research, they talk about experimental research, they talk about analytical study or statistical method, they talk about historical research, they talk about survey, they can talk about case study. There are a lot of them, but I only picked up four of them, which is very useful. So here, the most important thing for you to remember is you have to be positive. You have to make sure that you can do your analysis. You should be able to critically analyze it. Even your literature survey, those who attended the last month's seminar when I talked about literature survey, you have to be critical about and how your work is different. And you have to be constructive. Now, after that, let us see the research design. This is the exact place which is the overall approach, while methods and the techniques are used. Here is a clear distinction which is vital for your thesis. The research design is actually drawing for research. This is very systematic, and there is an aim that I can score runs on the board. So a definition could be as the arrangement of conditions for collection and analysis of data in the manner that aims to combine the relevance to the research purpose with the economy in procedure. And someone else has said this is a master plan, specifying the methods and procedures for collecting and analyzing the needed information. Now, what's the
Professor,
need and purpose? Yes, sir.
Professor, sorry to cut you off, Professor. Are you taking control of the slides now? I cannot
Why?
see it. Yeah, I cannot see it from my end. It's not moving from my end. I'm not sure.
But it isn't, can you see whether others can move? Because mine is moving.
Mm,
Just a minute. Let me take control. Let me take
Yep,
control.
yes,
Give me
please.
1 second, please.
Yep, yes, please. Yeah, you're taking control of it now. Okay, got it. All right, thanks, Professor.
Control. I've taken control.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and
Yeah.
I hope you can see it now. Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it now. We're in the need and purpose slides.
Yeah. I've
All
just
right.
done this.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Professor.
So
Thank you so
okay.
much.
Okay. So now what? Yeah, that's good. Thank you for telling me. Now, what's the need and purpose of this research design? That the process has to sail smoothly. It's going to save you money, manpower, and material. Remember, time is money, my friend. If you're going to waste time, you're going to waste money. Then you have to waste your time over there. It is going to help you with advanced planning and avoid duplication. You don't want to, if you keep on doing the same thing over and over, that they can't see the slide. Merv, Marvin,
Yeah, I
Marvin,
can. Yep.
But someone is saying that they can't see the slide.
Yeah. Can you try, because I can see it from my end. It's moving. It's good. It's fine from my end. So, would you be able to log out and then, join us again? Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Fundamentally, we must avoid duplication, because if you're doing duplication, you're going to waste time. And wasting time means wasting money, wasting your material, wasting your manpower. If there is any difficulty. And this thing gives you the reality to research. Now, process that we are talking about, when we are talking about this process, we want to make sure that we have got the appropriate topic and problems that you want to work at it. So you make sure that you select your research topic. You frame your research design. You frame your sampling design. You start collecting the data. You do the analysis of the data, editing of the data, the coding of the, and you start writing reports. That is the whole research design. Okay? The theory of good research design, but you know, you will find that this could be theory, it could be experimental, it could be redundancies, it could be efficiency, it could have any number of things that will impact your study's credibility. Of our good research and a good research design. I want to make sure that I have got a good research design. I want to make sure that I've got some characteristics here that tells me clearly whether it must be flexible. Nowadays, everyone looking on return on investment. Therefore, I'm talking about economical. Your institution will not be able to pay you millions of dollars during a DEng program. They can only afford to pay a few $1,000s here and there. That's all. So it must be economical, it must be unbiased, and it must fulfill the objective of the research. You must have an aim and objective, and it should fill up the aims and the objectives of the research. And it should be appropriate. You can't be talking about oranges and give mangoes. It should be able to guide you to achieve the correct results. It facilitates completing the research within the time. You want to finish the research in time. At EIT, we make certain that the course is so structured that you will finish your DEng program in 3 years' time, subject to satisfactory progress. I don't think 20 years like the PhDs do. So DEng is more characteristic to a good research design. DEng at Engineering Institute of Technology. Okay, what are the functions? The function of the research design is a blueprint. Okay, and it limits the bound. You're confined to that because even if the topic is small, you can go haywire, go all around the world, go globally, and you'll never be able to finish the research. And you have to be selective. And it enables you to investigate and anticipate any problems that might arise while the research you're going to have. What's the component of research design? Okay, there must be a title. You must have a title of research. Be able to say, why are you doing this research? And on one thing is that, which is very important, that you must realize that this is the highest qualification that you can get. So the experiment you're going to produce has not been done before. It's not a copy, cut and paste job. This has not been done before. So you've got to be a frontier of knowledge. You have to be in such a way that the original contribution to the knowledge of science and engineering. So that is the purpose. You have to look, whether you like it or not, but you have to look at it. That is what literature survey or lit survey is talking about. And you have to look at various references, anything between 80 to 200 people's work, depending on the type of research that you have. And you have to look at the problem itself. What is the motivation? What is the problem? What's the scope of the investigation? Many people forget the objective. If you don't know the objective right in the beginning, what are you going to do? So you must know exactly what are the objectives, what are the main objectives, what is the aim of your work. You must understand that there are variables, my friend. And if there is any hypotheses, you have to be sure of that. You should make the sample collections, do the data collections, and you do the analysis. That's all. That is your component. That are the components that you have. And the type of research design could be experimental, it could be non-experimental. And there could be number of experiments you might do. 5, 6, 10, 20 experiments. The non-experimental one could be ethnography, okay, or it could be focus group, or it could be network analysis or sociometry. When I talk about ethnography, it's basically descriptive anthropology, which is science of human beings. So it could be anything. So fundamentally, is much easier because you can see the thing. Non-experimental one is a bit difficult because it's a lot of unknowns over there. Okay. Now I want to talk about hypotheses. In engineering program, you will have this issue, hypotheses. This is basically a tentative statement about the population parameter that hypotheses. So when you're doing hypotheses, it's basically testing to determine whether there is enough statistical evidence to support a particular belief. It could also be a preliminary or tentative exploration or postulate by the researcher of what the research considers the outcome will be. So here you are doing a guesswork which could be informed or educated guesswork. Hypotheses could be about certain variables. And this is the most specific way to state an answer to a problem. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. It's just a hypothesis. It's just something that you have thought about. Now, someone asked me a question, what's the difference between hypothesis and a problem? One thing is for sure, both the hypotheses and problem, okay, and it supports or refutes an existing theory. But hypothesis is different from a problem. When you talk about a problem, you formulate serves as the basis of origin of our hypotheses. Whereas hypothesis is a solution to the problem. Can you see the subtle difference? One is the basis or the origin of the hypothesis is a solution to the problem. The problem, which is the question, cannot be directly tested, whereas the hypothesis, you can test it and verify it. Between hypotheses and problems. Now, when do you formulate these hypotheses? There have been a lot of literature studies that have been done about this, right? But this is one time when so if you know that, that is the time that you postulate your hypotheses. A hypothesis, what's the purpose behind it? What's the function of it? Very simple. It just creates the relationship between the variables that are to be tested. And that you have sufficient background knowledge so that you are capable of making suggestion and contributing to the development of the knowledge, the advancement of the knowledge which is existing today, and you're making something new. And this is where you give the directions. So that you can investigate the phase and furnish continuity to examine the problem. So a problem has stopped at a certain stage and you have gone so what's a characteristic? Should be elucidating. Elucidating means should be clarifying. It should be simple. It should be able to understand what a hypothesis is. So it should be absolutely clear. It should explain the problem. If you cannot explain the problem, how are you going to do a thesis? And then your hypotheses should furnish acceptable explanation. And your hypotheses should be verifiable. If I have the hypothesis and these hypotheses is perfectly fine, then I should be able to verify that result. And as I told you, I use the elucidate and simple that you can understand. And it should correspond to existing language or the knowledge that you have got. We're talking about Einstein to sociology. Okay, what's the types of hypotheses? It could be descriptive, it could be rotational, things that is there. There are other things also, but there are the number of ways these hypotheses are, and I'll go through each one of them. There are 7, 8 of them. Let's talk about descriptive one. When you are talking about a proposition, it talks about the characteristic, such as size, form, distribution, etc. So, say for argument's sake, the unemployment rate amongst arts graduate is higher than that of a commerce graduate. So the educational system is not oriented to the human resource need of a country. That is your hypothesis. That's your descriptive hypothesis. Then come the relational hypotheses. That describe the relationship between two variables. Example, higher income spending more on those who are earning high income That means the upper class people have fewer children than lower class people, and they're saving more money, so they have more money and resources want to do. That is relational hypotheses. Then come the causal hypotheses. This is where it states the existence which causes or leads to another variable. The first is independent and the latter is dependent. When dealing with causal relationship, the researcher must consider the direction that this is something like cause and which effect. Then the working hypothesis. When you're planning the study of a problem, hypotheses are they may not be very specific. In such cases, they are working type of hypotheses. You keep on developing it and make it better and better, subject to all your modification that you have done, so that you can proceed with it. Then comes the null hypothesis. This is an interesting one. There, it is formulated to test the statistical significance approach to statistical problem. The test would nullify the null hypothesis. So there is a relationship, say, between family's income and expenditure. A null hypothesis may say there is no relationship between a family's income level and spending on recreation. Then comes statistical hypothesis. This is, and this is important that you understand that the difference between the two. Methodology is basically a rational qualitative case study. And method is basically the specific tool or procedure, which is basically the interviews, surveys, etc. So, look at it, I can show it in a graphical form. Methodology is basically rational and philosophy. Method is the specific tool. The example is quantitative case study. Here is now quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method. Okay, it could be quantitative is basically numerical data, the words, meaning, etc. Mixed, combine both the qualitative and the quantitative one. So you can choose your basis of your research. Now this could be random or stratified. The non-probability sampling is purposive or snowball. The sample size is basically our analysis in quantitative. So, the data collection. How do we do the data collection? Some people do interviews. Some people have focus groups. Some people do observation, like many engineering projects, you'll be doing observation, you'll be doing experimental analysis. Some people only do it based on document what other people have done, right? Some people talk about it again in engineering using instruments and tools. So the approaches could be quantitative, qualitative, or mixed one. Again, if you look at it, the quantitative one is basically is thematic or grounded theory. Okay, and these are the various type of software that you can use. SPSS or R for quantitative, and Vivo for mixed one, you can use triangulation or merging studies. For those of you who do not know what R and SPSS are, they are two industry leading technologies for Scala is an open source programming language widely used as the preferred option for analytics, whereas SPSS is known as Statistical Package for Social Science, and this is owned by IBM. Whereas NVivo is a qualitative data management, coding, and markup tool, and this is designed to organize, analyze, and create a better understanding of survey responses, articles, social media, and other type of online material. So there are the tools that you can use. So basically, you've got qualitative one, or the mixed, or a combination of these. The data analysis in context. Is look up at certain things today, and one of the things which is very important is the ethics. But let us first look at the whole section, which is I've combined it all together into one. Ethics has become a very, very important thing. It is the securing the data handling. Ethics is absolutely mandatory. You will find if you are doing a research where there is any human handling, will have to get ethical approval. If not, you will not be able to do it. Even if you're going and surveying people, you have to get ethical. So you must look at and getting consent that the data is going to be used, and purpose without using the subject. So you need approval. And this might take you time, my friends. This will take you time. So I always suggest to my students, if there is ethical permission required of entity, make sure we do that right in the beginning. Because it can take anything between 3 to 6 months. If there is a sensitive data, make sure you do the ethical approvals. Now we go to validity and reliability, that is trustworthiness. And in the quantitative one, the things you've done, is it valid? Is it reliable? In the qualitative one, is it credible? Is it transferable? Is it dependable? Is it confirming? That all the data you have is trustworthy and you've not manipulated the results. Writing the methodology chapter. Now, I have found this very hard. And I have found this very hard because although I have said that for qualitative studies, credibility and trustworthiness and to write the structure of the chapter, I find students not being able to comply with what I expect as an examiner or as a supervisor. Remember one thing. You have to be methodical and make sure everything aligns with your research questions. So let us see how I'm going to write a methodology chapter. As I told you, I first want to distinguish between methodology and methods. Methodology is basically the overall strategy and rationale for the research, which you have used in your research. Remember that. Methodology is overall strategy and rationale, whereas this is the specific techniques and procedures. Chapter, the methodology chapter, sometimes very hard to understand, but you have to have a structure. And the way I want it is make sure that you've got a research design, you've got a paradigm, you've got data analysis, you've got ethics, you've got communication, all that has to be there, and then you can write the methodological chapter or part of your methodology. So first step, running the research problem. And the second thing I do a review of the literature. The third thing I do, then remember, I can't do any literature survey if I've not got any resources and references. My suggestion to all my students, because that will keep track of all the references that you're using. So, and make sure you follow a particular guideline. I always suggest to people to use APA referencing guideline. As an engineering student, I also have preference for IEEE style of formatting and resourcing in your references. That you understand. The author name I given. Look at that. The last name comes first, and then the initials are there. And then it talks about which way. Then it talks about the title, and it talks about where the research has been published. If it's book, if it is paper, if it's journal paper, it's conference paper, whatever it's there. You will find most of them in the IT guidelines and research handbooks, but if you don't find it, you can find it anywhere in the world. There are a lot of, every day there's a library and you can find all the guidelines. Very important that you have that reference chapter sorted out very quickly. With that, I have completed my presentation. Are there any questions? If there are, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Yes, so for everyone, for anyone who wants to ask questions directly to Dr. Akhtar Kalam, please raise your hands so that we can actually, allow you to ask them, ask Dr. Kalam directly. Anyone?
I can see. Okay, nothing has come up till now.
Yep. I cannot see any questions perhaps as well from my end.
I'm going up now.
Yep. So let's do this an interactive one, Professor. So I'll just just requesting them to raise their hands so that we can allow them to speak. Put them on mute so that they can talk to you directly. So for everyone, please, if you have any questions, please raise your hand so that we can actually, allow you to speak. Thank you. Mm, all right. I guess they're afraid to to raise questions.
No, no,
Yeah.
that's why it is much better now that they write the question because they find it
Mm.
easier to write it down than to
Yep. So yeah, if you do have any questions, please write it down on the Q&A section, and then we will
yes.
answer them for you.
Yeah, either in the chat box. Best is chat
Yep.
box. I've got the chat box open.
Exactly. Exactly. Please don't be shy.
Are we going to receive
Going to
presentation slide? That
oh,
one question has come. Yes, the answer to that question is yes.
yes, yes,
Marvin,
definitely.
can you please explain to them? You already written it down, but there's a question
Yes,
which says, "Are we going to get?" Yes,
exactly.
please.
Exactly. I have mentioned in my presentation a while ago that those who have registered will be able to receive the copy of the slides and the link to the video recording, wherein you'll be asked to you'll be able to get that one to your email in the next business days. Okay. So do we have questions about the topic? Can you raise them so that we can answer that for you? Dr. Professor Kalam here can actually answer those questions. Or if you wish to speak with Professor Kalam, we can also do that. But it's because probably the topic is it's so heavy, Professor. So
No, no, no. It's a very important topic,
Mm,
and Mervyn, I want to make sure that people understand because this methodology.
mhm,
Many supervisors do not know how to write a methodology section. Forget about
mhm.
the students. Students find it very difficult. This one. Um, so you
Professor.
understand that I can understand the challenge that these people are facing
Mhm,
because they do not know that how difficult. Only when they are writing it, they will find that they have. There's a question from JT. He's got his hand raised up.
okay. So
JT.
yeah, can you please unmute yourself?
JT, can you unmute yourself so you can ask the
Yes.
question?
Oh,
Oh, stop it.
No, no.
Doctor,
Yes.
for
Can you put
sharing
your
your knowledge with
video on so
us
they
at the
can see you
institute.
also? JT, can you put your
I
video?
myself, yeah,
Yeah, that's
there you
better.
go.
Yep, I can
So,
now we can see
Amazing.
you.
Thank you,
yeah, I'll turn
JD.
the light on. It's a bit dark in here. Yeah, look, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and information here in this format. For me personally, it's certainly a goal to be able to do my doctorate at some stage. Maybe not now, but certainly in the next year or two, I'd like to be able to start it. So, so what you're giving us here is quite useful. I've done studies before with the EIT. But is there any specific, like learnings or systems or links that you could share with us to help us, on that journey, prior to even starting, just to make sure we understand, more formally, whilst you're just describing something to us, is there something that we can dive into that would help
Yep.
the journey?
Thank you very much, Justin. It's a very good question. What I've been doing for the last 2 years, every month I give a seminar on various topics on how to write a thesis. That whole thing is the broad area that my aim is how to write the thesis because I correct about 50 theses in a year from all over the world. And I find the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's more ugly than the good ones. And many of the problems I have is from the English-speaking countries, which is very strange. But you find that the English speakers have got very bad English graphical errors that they make. Because they use it as a colloquial language that they have, they cannot they cannot express this properly in a Queen's English. English speaking background, I found that their written material is very good. They might not be excellent in oration or verbal. Every month on Thursday at this time, 1 hour I spend on various aspects of thesis, whether it's writing the thesis, whether it's doing literature survey, whether it's doing experimental study, whether it's doing methodology, whether it is what the chapter should be organized. Every month I do that. And at the end of the presentation today, I'm sure Mark will be talking about but they tell me what to do and I do it. And you will find that, again, it is in different aspects of things. Now, the question that you've asked is there the only written material is my PowerPoint presentation, right? And you can get access to all of them. I did 12 of them last year. I'm going to do 12 again, out of which I've already done 4 or 5th one. I don't.
Okay.
So you can find 16, 17 of them is already there in EIT. You just have to request people like Marv and they will send it to you. Whether it's recording you send or whatever you want. It is meant for people like you, Justin, who are keen. And it doesn't make any difference whether you want to do it now or you want to do it after 10 years. I don't care. Okay? As long the whole idea behind it. I don't want to see your thesis as an examiner and find out that Justin is a joke. And I don't want that to happen. And I want you to be writing a first class at EIT, doing the DEng program. And this is not a sales gimmick for EIT, so don't get me wrong, please. I'm just telling you that this program, the one that is the PhD program. In PhD, you're given a small topic, and you see the supervisor the day you first enter that university or institution. That's like when you're going to submit the thesis, and the supervisor might ask, "Oh, Justin, that was you who came 5 years back to see me." You will say yes, and then it's nice knowing you, Justin. It is not like that in EIT. In EIT, there is a coursework element. So you will, if I am the supervisor, and I'm only talking about myself, you will see me for all that 3 years that you are going to be structured. You're in a confined space, and you have to find that you have to do all your work within that space. I don't know whether you realize this or not. When I did my PhD 200 years back, right, at that time, I was left alone. Yeah, that long, yeah. Moses was my friend, Moses was there at that time. So
I don't know. You don't look that old. You
were left alone, and there were many students. Many students, Justin, were there who were there for about 10 years. 10 years my senior, they were still doing the PhD. Because you don't have that opportunity. You will finish it in 3 years, subject to you passing the other credits up. I don't want to say that, oh, you enter the program, you do it in 3 years. No. You have to get all the course credits. 20 hours of a research element, you have to do each one of them. And you will have to write papers, and you have to do this, and we continuously bombard you so that you become absolutely an expert, not only but also be able to communicate and explain to people in simple language of what work you have done, what exceptional work you have done. So it doesn't make any difference, it's just whenever you're after, believe me, this will always come handy.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you,
Justin. Take care. Great talking to you, Justin.
Thank you, Jess. All right. So we have another question here from one of our attendees, professors. So could you please, thank you, Professor, for the insightful presentation. Could you please share insights on the ethical approval procedures that a researcher must follow? So that's actually one from one of
This
our
is
attendees.
this is a public. I spent a whole 1.5 hours doing this. The procedure is not that simple. It is hard because those who are judging the ethics of it, they have to be absolutely sure that they have dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. It's very important that you realize it is that if there is a human subject or animal subject involved, you have to make sure that sanctity of human being and any animal is completely retained. We are a bit lucky. By lucky means, what I meant is when we do engineering type of work, we may not need too much of ethical approvals unless and until we are doing surveys and asking questions. But to make sure that that's why I said is what you're going to do, that is the best time to apply for the ethic approvals because that might take anything between 3 months to 4 months. And if it goes to and fro from the ethic committee to you, it might take a bit longer. Many times I found that students right toward the end of the year, they still haven't got the approvals. And you should not be able to, you should not, but people violate rules, but you should not be able to do work until and unless you have got ethic approval, especially you cannot work with human being and animal subjects. Because anything where there is sanctity of life is very important. And in particular, when you're doing medicine or other things where there could be quite a bit of danger to individuals, you find that ethics approval is imperative as well as difficult. So that is in short ethics approval. So you will find that many supervisors try to avoid it, but it is unavoidable. You will be caught if you don't get the ethics approval. Right, Marvin, have I answered that question?
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Kalam. And thank you so much for that wonderful question from our attendee. So yeah, I think we need to, so in conclusion, Professor.
Thank you. Some of you have asked questions. I just wanted to make sure that a lot of things are coming up. Recently, I heard that there is fuzzy analytic hierarchy process where methodologies are growing rapidly since the 1980s, and there are countless FAHP type of applications that have been published in many fields, including economics, finance, environment, and engineering. I suggest that if you get a chance, can you please look at fuzzy analytic hierarchy process. Also remember one more thing I want to give you, and that is occupational health and safety issues. In engineering, occupational health and safety issue could be a great factor that could impede your research because you have to get OHS approval, especially when you are working in engineering area, say electrical engineering, where there's currents and heavy currents involved, where there is lifting of equipment in civil engineering, in mechanical engineering when you are with big objects like motor cars and electric vehicles, etc. Chemical engineering, where there's chemical expertise, they're both ethics as well as occupational health and safety is important. So that is another barrier that you have to come through. Engineering students have to do that. Every student, as a matter of fact, should be aware of these issues. It is for your benefit that you get that right. Thank you very much, Marvin. And with that, I wish all of you the very best. I wish all of you write a fantastic thesis, and I'm sure Marvin will end with few more slides he has got. Marvin, could you continue with your slides? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. So, for those who have been asking about our upcoming courses, so we have our Doctor of Engineering online, which will run for 36 months. We have the start date is coming 28th of July, 2025. We also have our on-campus Doctor of Engineering. That will start this coming 4th of August 2025. So for more information, please feel free to reach our course advisors team. I have posted our contact details, so please feel free to reach us and we'd be happy to assist you. Okay, so for our upcoming doctoral webinars, these are the schedules. Okay, so please, if you're interested, please do a screenshot of that one. And of course, we'll be sending you the slides, so you'll be able to have this on your emails. Okay, so yeah, we would like to request everyone for a quick survey. So please, this is the link, and you can actually scan this code so that we can, you can provide some feedback about this webinar. All right. Thank you so much. And again, my name is Marvin. Together with Professor Kalam, we would like to thank everyone for attending this webinar. Thank you so much. Any words of wisdom, Professor, before we wrap up this webinar today? Professor?
In
All right.
salaries. The only good thing is that it gives you enlightenment, and you have to be passionate to be able to do this. And believe me, it's so much fun. I've been doing it since 1982, and I'm still enjoying it. So
Yeah.
enjoy this journey. It's a
Yes, sir.
great journey.
Enjoy the
Thank you very
journey.
much. And thanks a lot for all of you. And God bless all of you. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.